William has enough of his mother in him. Do you know what I mean? And that there's some other spark going on in there that will surprise us, right? Okay. But my astrology teacher at the time basically said that she felt that he was going to be the last king, right? That there was something about this eclipse that she was picking up, and she was also quite psychic, right? And I remember her saying several times, and he's going to be one of the most powerful kings, but he'll be the last one, right? Yeah. And that always felt rang, not sure why, but rang true within me somewhere, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay. So, and it could, she felt that this was going to be the last king of the monarchy, that there was not going to be a monarchy after him.
Right, yeah.
And that could be for several reasons. I mean, it could be, if we take the optimistic view, is that, that the plans don't work out. And if we take the negative view, it's because we transition into something else that doesn't need this kind of king, right? But my gut feeling is that no matter how this pancake is turned, and regardless of the kind of stages that it takes us to get there, that may vary, right? Yeah. Because we may have an easy ride or a difficult ride or whatever. My strong feeling is that regardless of all of this, we are going to come out on the other side, and that these guys are actually on their last, these are the last chapters for them, right? Because I just don't, even just from an energetic point of view, I just don't think that they're going to manage the shift. I think I've said this before, but I've had visions before where I see the energy shifting on the planet to such a degree that actually certain kinds of people that hold certain kinds of energy are not going to make it. You know what I mean? And so they may have all these plans, but then their circuits are going to fry. I mean, my circuits are frying, and I have been doing conscious energy work for years. Do you know what I mean? The energies that are coming in at the moment are very intense, and they're going to continue to intensify, right? And this is one of the reasons which I'm not 100% on the same page with some of the researchers that are saying that everything that's going on at the moment is HARP. I don't think so. I think that we are truly going through weather changes that have to do with solar changes that are part of the solar system shifting, right? And that this is an event that I believe the elite knows about, and we've been held in the dark about. And that one of the reasons which they have all of these underground bases and stuff is because they have been preparing for a very long time for this. And we're just catching on, right? But my sense is that in the long run, it's going to be all about energy. It's not going to be about who has the best bunker, right? And I think that the ones with the best energy are going to be the ones that are going to have the best experience, regardless of what's going on in the outer world, right?
Well, this is what, in some ways, this is what Jay Widener talks about. When he gets into what happened, literally hundreds of thousands of years ago, when the archons were able to escape the coronal mass ejection and go to Mars. Right. And his whole thing was this happens all the time, and what occurs is that the planet gets to have a reset, and the memory gets erased, and we get to get another swipe at doing this all over again with new resources, new life, and the whole 9 yards. And they figured it out, but what they did is they went to Mars, and then everything got wiped out, and then they came back.
Right.
And so this would be kind of an alignment with what Jay is talking about.
Yeah, although I have a slight disagreement on that. Can I elaborate?
Sure. Yeah.
I have conscious memory of the last shift, really conscious, because I had various past life experiences that I actually have pretty much full recall about, okay? And I have been into certain past lives over and over and over, almost like an archaeologist fishing for details, right? Okay? And I think that, yes, there was a faction that probably did that, but there were also seed groups of beings that did survive the transition, and I was one of them. And in that time, in that lifetime, I survived. I didn't die, right? And I ended up at the time in Egypt. I was part of the light brigade, let's call it, and there was also the dark brigade, and they all ended up in Egypt. And there were some that ended up in South America, in the area that we would now refer to Machu Picchu, do you know what I mean? And the Andes and all that. There was also some that ended up in Mesopotamia area, right? And so on. So there were pockets, there were more than that, but those are the main ones that I'm just going to mention right now. But there were pockets of survivors. All of them, all of the survivors, that, as far as I recall, were all members of the priesthood. All of them. Dark and light. It was only the for good lack of a better word, the high initiates, right, that survived. Because you need that kind of energy field, do you know what I mean, to make it through. At least you did at the time, okay? And one of the things that started happening, however, was that as the shift intensified, the energy, because there was a very high energy prior to this shift, and a lot of people were able to be telepathic. This was pre-frequency grid. There was a frequency grid that was put in place afterwards that kept everything down. But this erased the memory thing that Jay Widener talks about. And by the way, I'm not familiar with Jay Widener at all. I have not listened to not one single thing of his, so I have no idea what he talks about. So I'm just coming from my own memory here, okay?
Right.
Of my own stuff. And basically what happened was that the energy started to decrease, so that people that were able to be telepathic gradually were no longer able to be telepathic, okay? People that were able to manifest things at will were no longer able to manifest things at will. It just became harder and harder to do the kinds of things that we would call esoteric, okay?
Right. Yeah.
Even the people that had the skill and the knowledge were not as able to do these things, because it's not just about your own energy, it's also about the energy of the environment that you're in, and the environment was no longer supporting those kind of faculties, okay? Also, at the same time, there were outside forces that were one of the reasons which the shift did not work out in the first place, okay? Because they messed with things so that the grid became unstable and blah, 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 right? But these outside forces then went on a rampage to kind of disable energetically all sorts of people that held some of the higher frequencies, okay? So basically, there was a takeover, and this plane became dark. But not everybody went to Mars. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of the people stayed here. It was not a lot of people, right? It was literally little, almost like villages. Do you know what I mean? Of survivors, and all of these seeded their own civilizations, and there was a battle between the light and dark factions that went on for a while at the beginning, and then the light had to go underground, and the dark prevailed. And one of the reasons for which there are rituals, and there still is a need for rituals, but on both sides of the light and dark, is that now to manifest things you need a lot more focus and a lot more intent, because the energy does not support it the way that it used to, okay? And so one of the reasons for which there is this siphoning of energies to create stuff is still due to the fact that the planetary energy does not support it the way that it used to. although that is changing as we are going into hyperdrive. Okay, it's almost like we've gone into. Some people talk about the cycles. I think it's the Eastern Tibetan people or Hindu people, right? That talk about the cycle of the in-breath and the out-breath of God. Have you ever heard about that?
Are you talking about the yugas?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And so they saw the last cycle as the regressive part of the cycle, right? And so now we should be coming out at the other end of that and going into the ascension. And I'm not using the word ascension here in the New Age way. I'm using it literally as an energy. If you look at the cycle, there's the down cycle and then there's the up cycle, right? So we are now entering the up cycle, right?
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see how this all goes. I mean, if you just put yourself as an observer, it's a fascinating time to be alive, right?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, this is where the action is.
Yeah, it's all the action. The whole, well, I was going to say universe. I don't think that's true, but we're in a hot spot right now. Hot time, hot spot, hot place. Right? So
absolutely, yeah. And we chose to be here for the express purpose of experiencing it, and it's just the way it is. Yeah.
And just one last thing in terms of I don't know, it feels we're coming to a close, right? But I just wanted to, I feel that it's part of my intent to always leave people in a high space, okay?
Right.
Because I think it's important that people stay in a high space with these kinds of journeys and information, right? So that they're empowered and use things for progress, right?
Right.
And I think that it's important to remind people that the energy of the transition that we're going through is to some degree neutral, okay? There's a large solar system shift, and it is a energetic shift. It's almost like a wave that you can ride, okay? And you can ride it in all sorts of directions, depending on where your consciousness is at. If you choose to use it for the as a trigger for a further awakening of your own consciousness, okay, you can actually have a true acceleration of your own personal energetics, all right? So, for example, you can have your third eye become much bigger. You can have your crown chakra become much bigger. And, not bigger because we want it bigger, but I mean more open, more active, more engaged. As that occurs, your own way of relating to the world and perceiving the world changes. You access more of your true power and of the true person that you are, that is not so earthbound. It becomes more of your higher self being here, more of your soul being here, and your ability to stay centered becomes stronger, right? So I just want to encourage everybody to kind of ride the wave. Do you know what I mean? To look at all of these things that we talk about, be aware of where you're at in this big transition, right? Like to embrace it. It's like, yay, we are in this big thing right now. That's great. And to almost go to the flip side and say, hey, this is really exciting, and wow, I can now fire up all my chakras, and I'm going to get even more activated. Do you know what I mean? And through doing that, I feel that we're going to be able to bring back some of those, let's call esoteric skills, that are then going to be very useful for our own personal transition through this, right? But also, from that is the point of power through which the shift can be then maneuvered even at the collective level. Does that make sense? It's like if you are able to pull in more of who you are and more of your own esoteric self, for lack of a better word,